IMF official says the fund needs to assist the Caribbean in devising economic recovery plan. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Thursday, December 10th, 2020, I'm Delroy Luzon. With the Caribbean being one of the regions hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, the International Monetary Fund needs to assist it in devising a regional economic reconstruction and recovery plan to mitigate the effects. That's according to Alejandro Werner, director of the IMF's Western Hemisphere Department. The IMF has rolled out significant financial support for member countries to finance the drop in taxes and the increase in expenditure as a result of COVID, and has given around $100 billion in financial support to 83 countries. The Caribbean received around $1 billion in financing, which was given to 8 countries that reached out to the fund for emergency financing. Mr. Werner says many countries of the Caribbean are not within the framework of a program with the IMF, and so will have to build their policies to respond to the pandemic. He says the IMF and other international financial institutions will need to support these programs with sufficient financing.
And then we start rolling those programs out in a, let's say, in terms of and adjusting their magnitude in response to the way the pandemic and the economies evolve. So I think we're totally in agreement, and we have to put ourselves to work in designing the policies that will support the recovery, and then when the economies are on a clearly recovery track, guarantee that these countries will maintain sustainable and stable financing, so normal means of lending will resume. And we have to structure both of these things within the context of these recovery programs. And we should start working extremely fast. And as Prime Minister Gonsalves said, we should not limit ourselves to the boxes that we have devised in the past. And to the extent that there's some needs to modify them or to create new ones, we should do them. And in that sense, the international community is thinking, and Prime Minister Motley has been instrumental in pushing the idea of a multi-donor trust fund to provide liquidity for debt service purposes, but also to finance resilience building in an environment where climate change will be shaping our future as well.
Mr. Werner was a guest on the regional program, the Caribbean Economic Forum, along with Prime Ministers Dr. Ralph Gonsalves of St. Vincent and Mia Motley of Barbados. Dr. Gonsalves says the region has to collectively pull its weight and work smarter in the face of these challenges, but there must be greater support from international financial institutions.
A lot of countries are going to have to look to construction. St. Vincent has to look to that, St. Vincent and Grenadines, and to agriculture and fisheries, and hopefully medical cannabis and probably yachting tourism. That is what I would like to say to begin with, but it is an extremely difficult situation. I wouldn't say that it's a crisis, because a crisis is a condition in which the principals are innocent of the extent of the condition and have no clear idea, no credible idea as to the way forward. We know the extent of the condition. We are not innocent, and we have a clear set of ideas as to how we should get out of the condition, but we need support from the international financial institutions. And of course, all of us in the region, we have to pull our weight and work harder and smarter.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Lands has gone a step further in its efforts to build climate change resilience and focus on mainstream biodiversity conservation with the launch of the Climate Resilient Agriculture for Integrated Landscape Management project. Thursday's launch was done in partnership with the Global Environment Facility and the United Nations Development Programme. With emphasis being placed on land degradation and biodiversity, Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Peter David, says the project fits into the ministry's goal of better organizing the sector to boost production and build resilience.
Through projects like this, we can undertake concrete actions that directly impact the lives of our stakeholders, making climate-smart agriculture and sustainable land management practices more sustainable. Tangible results create stakeholders' buy-in. We as policymakers and project implementation technicians must always bear this in mind. Therefore, we can only build climate resilience by translating this project and others like it into tangible investments that benefit our sector stakeholders. Stakeholders will only adopt smart practices if these practices yield economic returns.
UNDP Representative Mohamed Nagdi says due to the onset of COVID-19, the traditional method of operating is no longer viable. He said the time presents an opportunity to have more resilient development planning that is climate-friendly and environmentally sustainable.
COVID-19 has provided us with an unprecedented opportunity, a chance at reshifting our societies and economies to build forward better and to bring balance between people, planet, and prosperity that leaves no one behind. The COVID-19 crisis proves that transformational change is possible and that a smart recovery guided by science can put in place the building blocks for positive long-term impact. Transformative approaches for climate resilient agriculture are both necessary and feasible.
Under the project, valued at $130,000, at least 8 agro-processing and 2 agro-tourism businesses will be supported with technical assistance in production, labeling, and marketing climate-smart agricultural products. There will also be biodiversity conservation, expansion and integration with climate-smart agriculture and sustainable land management measures at the Lasajas watershed, Great River watershed, and Livera Pond watershed, among others. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Protect yourself and our community from COVID-19. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water are not available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 70% alcohol. Use a tissue when blowing your nose, sneezing, or coughing. Immediately discard the tissue properly and wash or sanitize your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Let's do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. To stay up to date, visit the Government of Grenada's webpage or the Ministry of Health's Facebook page. For more information, contact the Ministry of Health's hotline by calling 53-VIRUS. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
Welcome back. Grenadian 400-meter track athlete Melanie Rodney continues to be a good ambassador for Grenada. Danny Williams, the coach of German long jumper Alexandra Wester, says the passion with which Rodney spoke of her island was the selling point for his decision to establish a training camp in Grenada. Rodney is in her final year at UCLA in the United States.
This spot was chosen particularly because of one individual, Melanie Rodney, who, while I was coaching at UCLA, was also a student athlete there, and she'll be graduating this year, was very instrumental in us deciding to come here because she talked so excitingly, so heavenly about how beautiful the country is, the weather, the people, the culture, and I just felt like it was something we could not miss out on. And it also helped that the COVID-19 was rated as one of the best places in the world. So between the places that we looked at in other parts of the world, this stood out as number one. So we're here.
Jani Rashia, the Finland-based coach of Canadian 100-meter hurdler Felicia George, says Grenada is indeed the best choice, taking into consideration systems implemented to curb the spread of COVID-19.
The training facility, I've been saying that this is really in really good conditions. It's clean. and we have all the equipment that we need, and plus we brought some of our own training equipment here, so we have everything here. We have a really good stadium. Then we have the one in La Chachesse where we go to do on the grass track and the weights over there. And we have a nice beach to train at, then in the sea and then sand. So, and this wonderful weather and the green island, we are close to the nature, so I believe we humans, we really like it when we can be close to the nature. And
Acting Coordinator of Sports, Carolyn Peters, says that apart from Melanie Rodney being a true ambassador for her country, exposure through the Grenada Invitational and the sterling performances of Anderson Peters, Kurt Felix, Lyndon Victor, and Kiriani James, among others, are all contributing factors to the recognition that Grenada is receiving. He says the stadium facility is well equipped to assist local and international athletes.
The athletes have been here. We have seen George in Grenada Invitation, and you know she grandparents or she parents from River Road, so she have a great history with Grenada. You see Alexander here from Germany with her coach. They all have learned of have been here, maybe competing through the Grenada Invitation, seen the exposure that the other athletes get with the opportunity. You know, I must say with Kiriani James and Kurt Felix and Peters, Anderson Peters, they all had put us on the map in that exposure to the world. Grenada is ideal or climate or culture or people. When you speak to them, you see they are home. It helps boost our tourism package. The more and more that we could put on international games, the more and more we can promote our country by the exposure of our international athletes. It will attract visitors like them to train. I think that's our aim for the future, to see how we could use the package to develop our sports tourism package as a revenue owner. We have a perfect stadium. We have the facility completely to go with that. We have the physiotherapist office, which you'll meet Dr. Christopher. We have the gym. We have the beach. They love the beach. They love the culture. They love so we have to go there and sell it.
That story ends the national report for Thursday, 10th December 2020. But before we leave, recap the headline. IMF officials says the fund needs to assist the Caribbean in devising economic recovery plan. That's all from us here at the GIS Newsroom. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Delroy Luzon, thanking you for joining us.